Long before central heating, thermostats, or even stoves became widespread, people found ingenious ways to stay warm. Among the most overlooked and surprisingly effective solutions was the ancient clay pot heater. It wasn't just a curiosity of old-world homes or early homesteads. It was a practical, low-cost, highly efficient heating method that could warm entire rooms with minimal fuel. This was the kind of innovation that ordinary people relied on to survive bitter winters, damp nights and freezing winds. And despite its simplicity, it's a method modern survivalists, off-grid builders and homesteading enthusiasts can still apply today. If you've ever struggled to heat a single room without sending your fuel bill through the roof, this ancient technique offers insights that are as valuable now as they were centuries ago. Today, we're going to break down how it worked, why it was so effective, and how you can recreate it with simple tools and materials. The clay pot heater worked because it stored and radiated heat slowly and efficiently. At the core of the ancient design was one principle: thermal mass. Clay retains heat far longer than air or even metal, so by creating a system where clay surrounded a small heat source, people could capture energy that would otherwise be lost. You know, a small candle, oil lamp, or even a charcoal disc could be enough to heat an entire space if its warmth was carefully concentrated and released gradually. The basic setup was honestly surprisingly simple. A medium-sized clay pot was placed over a small heat source, often elevated just a bit by a trivet or metal stand. Inside the pot, the air warmed quickly, and the thick walls absorbed that heat. Over the next several hours, the clay slowly radiated warmth into the surrounding room, creating a stable, gentle heat that could often match or even surpass modern portable heaters in effectiveness for small spaces. The real genius of the system was that it converted an intense, short-lived flame into steady, long-lasting heat without constant fuel input. Now, historical records and archaeological reconstructions, they show us that homes using clay pot heaters could actually maintain comfortable temperatures overnight with just a single candle or, a handful of charcoal. That's quite a remarkable feat, especially when you think about the pre-industrial era. Folks found ways to enhance the design by layering clay pots, which made the whole thing even more efficient. In wealthier households, or among those who just understood the physics a bit more intuitively, multiple clay pots would be stacked together to really maximize heat retention. So, here's how it worked. A smaller pot would sit inside a larger one with a layer of sand or ash separating the two. The inner pot held the heat source, while the outer pot absorbed and then radiated the warmth back into the room. This layering effect, you see, extended the burn time of even a minimal flame, stabilized the heat output, and allowed for a larger surface area to warm the room. Some variations included holes in the top or sides to improve airflow, allowing the flame to burn more steadily and, increase efficiency. Others used metal rods or plates to suspend the inner pot safely, all while ensuring that heat transfer remained effective. The result was, an elegant, simple and completely self-contained heating system that required almost no supervision at all. The clay pot heater worked in all climates because it combined radiation with gentle convection. Unlike open fires that heat unevenly, or stoves that focus heat in just one spot, the clay pot heater produced a combination of radiant warmth and gentle convection currents. Heat radiated from the clay walls to nearby objects, while warm air slowly circulated in the room. Furniture, walls and floors absorbed this energy and, helped maintain a consistent temperature. So, in practical terms, what this meant was that even a small heater tucked away in a corner could, influence the whole room. This made it just perfect for those cold, drafty spaces where having an open flame just wasn't practical or, frankly, wasn't safe. Now, if we look back at the records, we find that historical accounts from medieval Europe, the Middle East, and even East Asia all mention this technique. It was used in winter quarters workshops and communal gathering spaces, pretty much wherever folks needed to keep warm. People, being resourceful as ever, adapted the basic method to whatever fuel they happened to have around, be it candles, charcoal, animal fat, or just small wood embers. And, remarkably, they still managed to get a surprisingly steady bit of warmth out of it. You don't need to dig up medieval clay pots to try this technique today. Any fire-resistant ceramic or terracotta pot of sufficient thickness works, For a small room, a 6 to 10-inch diameter pot is ideal. A small heat source, like a tea-light candle or a few pieces of charcoal, is placed on a trivet or heat-safe stand. The pot is set over the flame and allowed to absorb the heat. In layered versions, sand or fine gravel can fill the gap between nested pots to stabilize the temperature and protect the inner pot. Right, so safety is crucial. Always ensure adequate ventilation, especially if you're using charcoal or animal fat. And never leave a flame unattended. The beauty of the clay pot system is that it doesn't require high fuel input, just small controlled sources of heat that the clay amplifies and spreads over time. In emergency heating scenarios, this method can maintain warmth for hours, while using a fraction of the fuel that a modern space heater consumes. The clay pot heater demonstrates how ancient knowledge can solve modern problems. What makes this ancient method remarkable is that it relies on principles every survivalist should understand: thermal mass, radiation, gentle convection, and efficient fuel use. By using materials you can find almost anywhere, you create a portable, low-cost heating system that can operate quietly, safely, and reliably. For off-grid homes, tiny cabins, or survival shelters, recreating this method offers a dependable backup when electricity or gas is unavailable. Even in a contemporary workshop or garage, the clay pot heater can provide focused warmth without consuming large amounts of fuel or producing excessive smoke. Ancient peoples weren't just improvising. They were mastering principles that engineers today recognize as fundamental to heat efficiency. The clay pot heater is proof that the simplest solutions often deliver the greatest results. If you want more forgotten survival techniques, practical historical fieldcraft, and tips you can apply today, make sure to subscribe to Backyard Wisdom and share this video with friends who love history, survival, and hands-on ingenuity.